Growing up, my grandmother always said, "I never promised you a rose garden. Along with sunshine, there's gotta be a little rain sometime." I've had these words echoing in the four walls of my head on and off for the past 4 years because, let's face it, high school was far from being a walk in the park, and I'm sure future students will be sharing in these sentiments for years to come. When asked to speak on behalf of the student council with Danny at graduation, I panicked. I put pen to paper, poured my heart onto the page, and then scrapped my writing, and started over again, and again, and again. I'd been anticipating this speech my whole life. I've been ruminating over the names of people I wanted to thank, call out, and mention since I was 14 years old. I mean, this speech has been 4 years in the making. This speech needs to be epic. It's the speech that my classmates and my school will remember me by. I had to do it right. So I stressed, and I overworked myself into crying over a graduation speech. And then I procrastinated it for a few days, but then I realized that it really wasn't all that deep. It didn't matter how epic my grad speech was and how cool my peers would think I were for calling out a bunch of names and complained about everything that went wrong during my time at high school, because none of it would matter. They would have been empty, unproductive, meaningless words, and that, I realized, was something that I most feared. Leaving my family of 13 years with an unimpactful note. And luckily, I have Danny, who I know would hit all the important points and make a proper speech, so I could just speak from the heart. So here I am, a girl with no speech. Just a list of things that I wish someone told me when I was entering high school, with the hope that it can prove useful to someone someday. Firstly, be kind to yourself. I am now at a place where I can say, I know that high school can be difficult, and I know it can be suffocating, and I know that sometimes it feels like it may never end. It's a weird and turbulent time, and nothing makes sense, and that's okay. You're living in a perpetual paradox, with one foot in adulthood and the other in adolescence. The world is going to start expecting a lot more from you, and it's okay to feel overwhelmed. When you're a teenager, everything feels like the end of the world, and that's just because you're experiencing everything for the first time. You can't beat yourself up over every bad thing that happens, every bad grade, and every falling out or heartbreak that you experience. You need to remember to be kind to yourself, not just for show around your teachers and peers, but for you, because it doesn't matter how good you are at faking a smile or how helpful you are to your peers, because at the end of the day, you have to go home and be with yourself. It's taken me 18 years to finally realize this, but you have to make yourself your #1 priority, because you're the only person you can ever truly depend on at the end of the day. So don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help if the world ever gets too much. There's always going to be a support system available for you here at St. Andrews. You just need to be open to it. There were points in high school when I was so overwhelmed with stress and emotion that I couldn't articulate into words. I let them manifest into unhealthy coping mechanisms, such as lashing out at my friends and cutting people off. In hindsight, I can confidently say that taking some time for self-care and seeking a support system changed my life. I want to specifically thank teachers such as Mr. Connor and Mr. Daniel, who time and time again made themselves available to me in times of crisis, showed me respect and treated me as an adult, enabling me to overcome my personal struggles and mature as an individual. Working hard in high school will eventually pay off. I never expected to be a straight-A student. While there were subjects that I excelled in, I also had shortcomings in other areas. I think it's important to recognize early on that high school is an incredibly tough time, especially IB. I spent countless nights awake, eyes glazed over, staring blankly at a computer screen, running purely on 3 hours of sleep and caffeine just to finish work and hand it in on time. The constant pressure can easily build up over time, and the constant demands of the IB can sometimes make you feel inadequate. But it's so important to remember that you are enough. You are so incredibly enough, and don't ever let anyone convince you otherwise. Not a teacher, classmate, friend, or anyone. And finally, the story's not over yet. I've always been afraid of endings. Something about the permanence of the end has just never sat right with me. That's probably why sometimes I stop watching shows before the final episode, or I put a book down before the final chapter. And while it's true, I've counted down the days until my graduation, basically since my first day at this school, I must admit that now that the time is here, I find myself wishing that I could hold on just for a while longer. But the reality is that this isn't an ending. It's a beginning. St. Andrews will always be a part of who I am, and I will be forever grateful for that. And while this chapter of my life is ending, it also marks a new beginning. Since finishing school a month ago, I've already witnessed significant self-growth, and I appreciate that St. Andrews 107 has helped me form a foundation for cultivating the woman that I will one day become. I look forward to leaving here and experiencing the world outside the bubble of S107. I recognize now that I am not the same person I was 7 years ago when I arrived here. I'm not the same person I was before the pandemic and we went online school 2 months ago or even 2 days ago. As people, we are constantly changing. Everything we experience helps mold us into the adults we will be in the future. So, to conclude, I don't know. Don't worry about things too much. Worrying will consume you. High school is temporary, and the world will not fall in on itself every time you flunk a test. And every relationship that you form in high school doesn't determine your future. And yes, sometimes things aren't working out, but eventually everything will fall into its place. High school has gone by faster than I expected it to. Life moves swiftly, and she waits for no one, so grab her by the hand and let her take you wherever you're meant to go. These few years here at St. Andrews 107 are the years where you are allowed to try new things and make mistakes and discover yourself. As Samuel Beckett once said, "Ever tried, ever failed, no matter, try again, fail better." To my classmates, you should all be incredibly proud of everything you've achieved. I wish you all the best and good luck in the future. I will always look back on our times here together fondly, and you know that if you ever need me, I'm only a call away. Unless you need me to proofread your essays, in which case I am never doing that for free ever again, and you guys will need to pay me. So, congratulations to the class of 2021. We did it. Now go forth, smash every expectation, and treat people with kindness. Thank you.